Thank you for your subscription, which has given me a big hope to continue producing more YouTube clip for you to improve your English. Our today lesson will be about future perfect and the future perfect continue. The future perfect is used to express an action which will be completed before another action in a certain time in the future, where the time is not as important as the completion of the action. How we construct future perfect. We have the subject, I, they, we, you, and then 1 plus 1 or any plural subject we use will. Then have, then studied. Because always after any model which will be included, we have to use the root of the verb, which goes here we use have. Then we have to make it perfect time. Then we will use have plus past participle. Then let's look here. Subject, we have it. Or the second thing for the future perfect time, we will have, for example, making commitment or plan. We say I am, then going to, this is part of the future. Then we use have, as we said it before, the root of the verb. Then we have to make it in the perfect time. Then we change it to have studied. It means have plus past participle. Then with he, she, it, we're going to use is, going, to, then have, then studied again, then math for 2 years by the next month. Or we could use they, we, you are going to, then have again, then make it present, make it perfect time, have plus past participle. When we use present future perfect, completed activity prior to another activity in the future time. For example, by tomorrow, this indication for the future. Sarah will have received. If you look here, Sarah subject, will is the model here for the future. Then we have to make it in the perfect time. We use have plus past participle. Her second trophy in the Olympic game. Let's go to the second sentence. My parents are going to, this indication for the future. Then we make it in the perfect time. We say have reached their final trip's destination by noon next week. Okay, let's go to the second use of the future perfect. Length of an activity prior to another activity in the future time. For example, by the time Sam's parents leave, Sam will have been at home for 2 weeks. The second sentence is, the police are going to have interrogated. If you look here, the police is the subject, are going to as the kind of the future with the commitment or with the plan. Then have to make it in the perfect time. Then we say have integrated. All the suspect people next week by evening time. The third one, looking back, sometimes we say flashback, especially when you look for flashback. Then we say to the past from a specific point in the future. At the end of this semester, we will have been together for 4 months. You see here? At the end of the semester, not now. Then from the end of the semester, we look to the past, which is also going to be in the future. We will have been together for 4 months. Second sentences. We are going to have been together for 4 months at the end of this semester. The same thing, but we changed the position of the indication of the future. Third kind, An activity which will be completed before a specific time in the future. The two rivals will have settled on a new treaty at the end of a long negotiation next year. We go to the second one. The new immigrants are going to have settled in their new homes at the end of a long journey. Tomorrow by evening. See here, if you look to the sentences, the new immigrants are going to have settled. It means the perfect time in their new homes at the end of the long journey tomorrow by evening. There are some words we use it when we make it future perfect. Usually we use by or no later than a specific time. For example, by next year. Sardar will have worked 3 years for our company. The second one, Sardar is going to have worked 3 years for our company by next year. Sometimes we say in, within a period of time, no indication of the specificity that the action will finish. For example, I will have written the report in an hour and email it to you in no time tomorrow. Let's go to the second one. Tomorrow, could put comma here. I'm going to have written the report in an hour and email it to you in no time. Okay, how we construct future in the perfect time. Let's look at the future, a different form of the future. For example, look in here, we have future simple. The students will have their races for lunch by noon. To make it perfect, present perfect, then we have to say the student have had their races for lunch by noon. This is simple. Then we have to make those two sentences together as acting as one sentences, because this is the first one will be a future simple, then the second sentence is in the present perfect. Then we have to make it both of them as one sentences. Then look here that's how we do it. Let's say student is the subject, will is the part of the future, we bring it here. Then here we have to make it in the perfect time. The other reason we mix this part with this. We have the same have here, then we're gonna bring it here. Then we have the past participle, we bring it here. Then we see the student will have had their races before lunch by noon. Let's try again. Future simple, present perfect. Then we have to make it future perfect. Okay, let's do the first sentences. The students are going to have their races for the lunch or for lunch by noon. This is future simple. Then with the commitment, because every time we know the student, they have races for lunch, maybe at 12 o'clock. Let's make it present perfect. The student have had their races for lunch by noon. We have to make both sentences, those two, as one sentences here. We say the students are, from the first one, we have to make it continue, or sorry, to make it future with the commitment, or, here is same are, going to, then we have to mix it this part with the new sentence. We say the student are going to have their races for lunch by noon. Okay, how to make it future perfect in negative? We will have he will have chatted with her for 2 hours by noon. then we have to make a negative. When you make a negative, we just simply add it not after will. We make a question, interrogation. We say we take the auxiliary verb, which is will, in the front, position it in the front of the subject, like here. We say, will he have chatted with her for 2 hours by noon? Yes, he will, or no, he will not. Okay, let's try to we make it negative. He will not have chatted with her for 2 hours by noon. Or you could say he won't. Make it short, he won't have chatted with her. Okay, let's go to here if we have it, this one. Our baby will have spoken a few words by next Friday. Then here we make a question. Say, will our baby have spoken a few words by next Friday? Yes, our baby will, or no, our baby will not. If we make a negative, same thing, we just position it not after will. Say, our baby will not have spoken a few words by next Friday, or you could say, our baby won't have spoken a few words by next Friday. How we make a future perfect as interrogation and also negative with when we have with the commitment. For example, I am going to have watched 3 movies by next Sunday. Here, indication for the future, and then this is indication for the future happened, took place, or happened in the perfect time. We make a question. Am I going to have watched 3 movies by next Sunday? Yes, I am, or no, I am not. Make it negative. I am not going to have watched 3 movies by next Sunday. Same thing with singular subject. Sam is going to then have reviewed 2 books in a week. This is commitment. We have is going to, then make it in the perfect time, we add have reviewed, or you say have plus past participle. Make it interrogation. Is Sam going to have reviewed 2 books in a week? Yes, he is, or no, he is not, or yes, Sam is, or no, Sam is not. Sam is not going to review 2 books in a week. You could say Sam isn't going, same thing. Let's go to the other one. We are going to have revised 2 assignments by next Friday. Same thing here, indication for the future. Then in the perfect time, we will use have past participle. Then same thing here. Are we going to have revised 2 assignments by next Friday? Or sometimes make it negative. We say we aren't, or we are not going to have revised 2 assignments by next Friday. How we make it future perfect continue, or progressing in a specific time. The future perfect continuous describe activities which will be in progress in a certain time in the future, where have reached a certain stage, and it emphasizes the length of the activity which is in the progress prior to another activity in the future. It means we think about the future, specific time in the future, the activity will continue in that time in the future. Let's look how we structure this kind of sentences. Same subject, I, he, she, it, they, we, you, all of them use will. Then we have been. If we look here, this is gonna be future in the perfect time, but we want to make it continue in a perfect time. Then we add ing form or a gerund of a verb. Then we say, I will have been memorizing poems for 2 months by next semester. Now let's look how we construct this kind of sentences. Emphasizing duration of an action which will last for a certain time in the future, prior to another time. Let's go look here. By the coming anniversary, Serdar and his fiancée will have been, if we look here, until here is future perfect, but we want to make it continue the perfect time. Will have been going out together for 4 years. Okay, let's look another sentences. Serdar is going to have been waiting for his fiancée for more than 2 hours when her train arrives. If you look here, Serdar is going to, this is future. Then we make it future perfect. Have to, we have been, we added. Then make it future perfect, continue, then waiting, we added to it. Okay, let's look to another sentences. Emphasizing the inevitability about the cause of a situation. By next month, Sarah will have been practicing on the new play for 6 weeks, so she will be very tired. Okay, everything's happened in the future, but in this 6 week, then she will practicing. Okay, let's look again. By next month, Sarah will have been practicing on the new play for 6 weeks. Okay, so she will be tired. Okay, let's look to the other sentences. Sarah will be very exhausted when by the next month, because she is going to have, until here is future, simple future, but we added this have been, it's gonna be future perfect, but we added publishing will be future perfect continue. Okay, let's read it from the beginning. Sarah will have, Sarah will be very exhausted by next month, because she is going to have been publishing her dissertation for the 3rd time. Okay, let's look how to make it interrogative and make it as negative. Sam will have been driving for 2 hours by noon. Make it question, just simply take the modal or will, auxiliary, position it in front of the subject. Will Sam have been driving for 2 hours by noon? Yes, Sam will, or no, Sam will not. Let's look how to make a negative. Sam will not have been driving for 2 hours by noon. Or you could say Sam won't have been driving for 2 hours by noon. Okay? Let's continue with it. By 2018, because I have to make it a little, let's say by 2020, I will have been teaching in Kurdistan for 5 years. By 2020, will I have been teaching in Kurdistan for 5 years? Yes, I will, or no, I will not. By 2020, I won't have been teaching in Kurdistan for 5 years. Okay, let's continue with this. When Sam comes at 12, he will have been studying for so long. When Sam comes at 12, will he have been studying for so long? We have to make it question. Then we say, yes, he will, or no, he will not. Then we go here. when Sam comes at 12, he will not have been studying for so long. Now let's go to when we make it future. Future perfect continuous negative contraction of will. Sarah will not have been waiting for 23 days by next week. Then we say Sarah will not have been waiting for 23 days by next week. Or you could say Sarah won't have been waiting for 23 days by next week. Or you could say by 2019 we will not have been using pesticide for decades. Let's have to make it a little longer. If I was talking about future, let's make it 2020. That's better. Okay, let's go to here. By 2020, we will not have been using pesticide for decades. By 2020, we won't have been using pesticide for decades. Let's look to sentences how we constructed future, then future continue, then future perfect, then perfect continue. You have to be a little patient with me here. We have future simple. Sardar will write a letter to his fiancée tomorrow. Make it future continue. Sardar will be writing a letter to his fiancée tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I mean, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, the action will start to be continuing. Make it future perfect simple. Sardar will have written a second letter to his fiancée tomorrow by 10 o'clock. You see differences between all this. Let's continue, then you make it comparison. Future perfect continue. Sardar will have been writing a letter to his fiancée for 4 hours by the time he is home. Okay, here we continue the perfect time or future perfect time. If we look to all sentences, all four, then we have will is in all fours. Then we have the first one, we call them the root of the verb, with no ed, with no ing, with no s. To the second one, this is the same thing we call a root of the verb, but here we have to make it ing form the verb to make it future continue. Then we go to the third one. When we make it future perfect simple, we have to have will, then have, here is have, here is past participle of write, written. Then we have to make it future perfect continue. We have will, then have been as a perfect, then writing, which is gerund, then we say future perfect continue. Let's look to another sentences. We could have more idea. Let's look here. We have same thing, future simple. Sardar, because this is what the commitment, because we have two kind of future, with will or with going to. Simple future, Sardar is going to. This is indication for the future. Then we have the root of the verb, or infinitive we call it, right. Then future continue, only simple continue. Sardar is going to be writing a letter to his fiancée tomorrow at 10 a.m. Okay, now we make it future perfect. Sardar is going to have written a second letter to his fiancée tomorrow by 10 o'clock. Then we have to make it future perfect continue. Sardar is going to have been writing a letter to his fiancée for 4 hours by the time he is home. Okay? Thank you very much for listening. If you have any question, just you could post it at my channel, Shaalan Aldowski. Thank you very much for your listening. Okay, you take care.